Hi and welcome everyone to my Women in Health Tech series. I'm Zeta Jhanji. I'm the lead data and analytics consultant from DG Health and founder of the Women in Health Tech series, where I'm striving to provide a different platform for women and men across the NHS and health tech sector as well. And today I'm joined by the amazing Sarah Boyd. But before I go into the questions, Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Percy. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure. I'm Sarah Boyd. I am Head of Digital Experience and Transformation at Norfolk and Waveney Integrated Care System. The longest job title in history, probably.
Amazing. And I guess, where's your passion for digital and the patient journey actually come from?
I'd like to say it was a really considered career choice, but like probably most of us, I fell into it a little bit. So my background is actually in organisational psychology. And while I was studying for my master's, I ended up applying for a job in the NHS and getting it. And then that's kind of where the love story started. And I just fell in love with working in the NHS and stayed within it. And then so I did some operational management bit for a bit, and then went up to kind of SHA level. And then I ended up on the national programme just by chance doing change, being part of the change team. And that's really where my first foray into digital came about. When I started in the NHS, we were still kind of writing paper memos and not really using IT. But the national programme was kind of my first real taste at what it could be like. And I just met so many brilliant clinical people, and the conversations that you had around how you could change the NHS for the better with digital as an enabler was kind of a bit of a hook for me. And then I haven't really moved away from digital in that respect, but I've always been really interested in about the impact that it can have on the people rather than the technical bit itself.
Yeah, no, I love that. People and digital definitely at the forefront of everything. And I guess in terms of opportunities, post the pandemic, what would you say is the biggest opportunity for the NHS and digital post the pandemic?
Um, I think we got a glimpse into a future that we didn't know could exist so quickly. So obviously, when the pandemic happened, a lot of us shifted to digital, and I think everyone then got a really experiential chance to like know what digital would feel like in a way that before it's kind of quite in the future. It's kind of a concept that you kind of understand but you don't know, and suddenly we were just trialing stuff, kind of piloting how it would work. And I think that kind of building on that and being like, well, actually you were worried about it, but now we've tried it, that kind of worked. And so kind of building on that momentum to see how we can use digital even more. And I think we're seeing that. We're definitely seeing people more open to having conversations around how we do digital. Um, I think we also have an opportunity now to learn from that, like the speed at which we implemented things. I think, and I would think this because I sit in the change side, has showed the importance of doing change well. So we did roll stuff out, but we didn't necessarily consider the user experience of it, the impact it would have on our communities in areas like digital exclusion. And so I think it also allows us to have that conversation. It says, look, we can roll stuff out at speed and make it work, but it's not, you can see that it's not optimized, it's not reaching everybody that needs to reach. Can we kind of take a more considered approach going forward? So I think that's some of the opportunities that came out of it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think you're really passionate about describing your own role. So I guess, why do you think the ICSs are such a good opportunity at the moment for the NHS?
And again, I haven't read the whole 232 pages. I will look for the Twitter threads of people that have done that properly. Uh, I think working in an STP that's kind of becoming an ICS is, I love being able to connect people. That's kind of what I do in my role. And I'm really interested in making sure we're connected around the person. But it's really difficult to do in the current format. We don't exist as a kind of legal entity. So you're doing it on more kind of goodwill and kind of cobbling bits of money together. And I think the ICS will hopefully provide some more structure in support in being able to really do that system level working. We'll still have some of the challenges around kind of funding and funding flows, because I don't think they're fundamentally changing. But I think it just gives a bit hope. I'm hoping it will give a bit more legitimacy to system level working, and but allow us, if we do it well, to keep that balance between the local needs and the ability to do kind of place-based care, and just the system working, kind of almost the weirdness of creating a system level organisation that supports you to do care closer to you in your place rather than care at the system level, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yes, I think we have to be really careful that we're still enabling our organisations to be the best that they can be, but in a way that supports the kind of betterment of the system as a whole.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Good point. Be interesting to see how it all pans out, I guess, this next year as well, because I think everybody's so eagerly anticipating what's going to happen. And obviously, you're a bit of a digital transformation guru, I guess. And what would you say some of your top tips are for a digital transformation journey to be successful?
I'm nodding. I nodded at that like I'm a guru, but I'm not an expert, but I do live in it, I guess. I think there's some really basic things around digital transformation. I think we've got a big digital transformation program coming up, and therefore we start to think about it as a program of work. And I think the thing that I will always ask people to consider when they're doing it is, what is the outcome outcome and experience that you are looking for? What change is it that you are trying to create? And then add the digital into it. I think sometimes we tend to lead digital transformation programs as digital being the thing you're trying to deliver, and it's the enabler of the thing that you're trying to deliver. And then I think it's just back to basics around relationships and trust and things like just running meetings well. I think when you're doing transformation, kind of every interaction that you have with the people that you need to take on that change journey matters. And if you invite them into a meeting that is dull or not engaging or doesn't allow dialogue, then you're not creating that opportunity to drive the change. So I think just back to the basics around thinking about how you create relationships, how you create trust, how the environments that you bring people into to talk about the transformation are welcoming, they allow them to have a voice, all of those sorts of things, the basic things that I think really make for good foundations for you to then build on the rest of it, how you process map, how you do kind of benefits and all of that. But I think there's some really basic level stuff that just needs to be done well that supports it.
Yeah, I think as well, it's about making sure everybody feels like they're on the journey and what they want to happen through digital transformation is their clear vision, and everyone's on the same page as well, I guess.
Yeah, and I think if you're bringing people in, if you're saying to people, we want you to be part of this, we don't want to do this to you, we want to do this with you, but then invite them into a space where you've got a really strict agenda and a chair and everything is pointy, like the chair asks you a question and you reply. Whereas if you invite somebody into a meeting that's like, right, this is your space for you to talk to us about what it is that you want from the system, we are here just to listen, and then almost just sit back and see what evolves out of it. That's a far better way of understanding people and building that relationship than creating kind of a culture that just tells them that you are just inviting them into your meeting, your structure, your agenda, and the questions that you want to ask. There's no space for their kind of thoughts about it. So that's why for me it's really important that we think about that kind of detail, the language, the experience of every interaction that we're having, and that's the kind of foundation for good digital transformation.
Yeah, definitely. Breaking down the barriers to obviously change their mindset as well.
Seeing people as people, I mean, that's probably the number one thing. They aren't just users of something, they are people. They are like you, they're like me. And just, yeah, having that real belief that you have an equity of thought. So whatever they think and whatever background they come from is just as equal as yours, and a diversity of thought. So not assuming that, not seeking that kind of confirmation bias, not just seeking the voices of the things that you already believe. Allow the kind of diversity of voice to be in the room and the challenge that comes back, and really learn from that. And again, that can be uncomfortable, but it's another massive part of making sure you're doing change and transformation well.
Yeah, really, really good points. I'm sure everyone's got the notepads out at those ones for sure, Sarah. So thank you for that. I guess when we've spoken, you are very conscious and aware about your status as a female digital leader. I guess, what do you ensure you're doing to sort of pass the torch, so to speak, to make others heard?
Probably not enough actively at the moment, but I hope people understand that on those principles I just spoke about, like I fundamentally believe that everybody that I meet across any part of the organisation or any person, that your thoughts, you are a unique person, I'm a unique person, and your thoughts are just as interesting as mine. And it doesn't need to be about hierarchy. Like what you bring and what your experiences and what you talk to me about, I will always learn something from that. And by nature, therefore, the diversity that you can get into the room is as kind of good as possible, because then you get that broader kind of level of thinking. So I do sit in a lot of first meetings this morning, I was the only female in it and the only female in my team. So I noticed that, and I bring a bit of diversity, but not enough. They're kind of straight, they won't mind me saying that, straight white males, and I'm kind of straight white female, and there's a level of kind of similarity to us already. So I am very keen to kind of help women feel safe in that space that is predominantly male, but everybody to feel safe in that space, because I genuinely believe that if we can get that kind of all of the different views in and everybody feeling safe, that's where you get that kind of innovation, new thinking, good levels of transformation in. So yes, I'm very kind of well, selfishly pro women in digital because I'd like more pals to hang out with. But yeah, as I said, anyone, we need yeah, just that beautiful diversity that's going to help us really do things differently.
Of course, no, love those points. And I guess you've been around the block now because you've done a hell of a lot.
You
are still really young. But I guess, what advice would you give your younger self or anyone else sort of looking to get into digital within the NHS?
I mean, my gut reaction is probably don't do it, but that's not the PCR of it. I think I think again it's the same principles, like have the belief that we don't all have to be the same. We don't all need to be a kind of cookie cutter approach to this is what a change person is, and this is what an analyst looks like, and this is what a kind of techie looks like, because the skills are the same, but again, that diversity of thought is really important, and I think that's what allows people to see things differently and for innovation to happen. And so I think I'd be saying to my younger self as early as possible, just be yourself at work. And I think in the NHS, I can remember when I started in the NHS, I didn't think I could, like I wouldn't really mention what I was doing at the weekends or something. I felt like I needed to be quite a corporate person, and as I kind of got older and a bit more confident, I don't anymore. I bring my whole self to work in a way that I didn't do at the beginning, and I think we need to support people to do that from the start, because there's a beauty in it, and people are people, and we have lives outside of work, and that is okay. So let's judge people on how they deliver things rather than what they do and who they are or what they look like. So yeah, I'd give my younger self a cuddle and just say, you're all right, be yourself at work, it will work out. You don't have to be somebody else's version of what you think they should be. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, amazing. And finally, any sort of health technology newness we need to be aware of, or key things that you're sort of passionate and pushing at the moment?
So probably not technical, but I'm really excited about the future when we think about the inclusivity of digital. So moving from not only closing the gap of the kind of exclusion that we've made for some people by using digital, but thinking about how we do inclusive digital transformation going forward, but how digital can enable some really excellent kind of levels of accessibility for people in a way that we haven't before. We've got kind of the organisation needs this mindset, but we're like, actually, if we want to engage and be able to give everybody equitable access to our services, what can digital do for that? And I think that's a kind of different look on it than we usually have. So I'm really excited, and just the digital inclusion work that we're doing at the moment, the system, really, that's kind of where I get my energy from at the moment. I'm just thoroughly enjoying that, and I'm looking forward to kind of others getting their head around it and us having really interesting conversations around what digital can do in terms of being more inclusive and building equitable access to stuff. So yeah,
I guess that's just a final point, because digital inclusion obviously can be interpreted in like different ways. What sort of form are you guys pushing it at the moment? Because I've read quite a bit on terms of what you're doing. So
yeah, so it's both. So I think there's kind of almost a three-pronged approach. We're in the formalising stage, but as I said, we're very aware that we've created a digital gap by pushing forward on digital services, and this is across kind of our Norfolk and Waveney economy. So in corporate world, in the county councils, in healthcare, we're starting to use digital tools to enable us to kind of improve the efficiencies around how we work as organisations. But by nature, we've excluded people, and we've probably excluded the people that need us the most, would want to access us the most, and that we're already excluding in other ways. So there's a bit of work that needs to do to close that gap. So let's kind of address the damage that we've done and make it better. And then by nature, but looking forward, so how do we make sure that we don't do that again? So how do we make sure that we're inclusive from the start? And then another little bit just around, as I was saying, like, but what innovation can we do around digital that kind of really allows people in more than we thought about before? So we're kind of, yeah, closing the gap, building the foundations to always be inclusive around digital, and looking at kind of the innovation that digital can do to make it even more inclusive. Are kind of the three areas that we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, and I know you're really interested in terms of like the patient journey and putting them at the forefront of their own care from a digital perspective.
Yeah, and it's exactly that with the digital inclusion piece, is that you have to see the person as the whole person, and you have to solve the problems that are their problems in the order that they are the problems for them. So if I sit here in health and say, we're going to get you a bit more digitally included, you've got diabetes, we'd like to give you an app that would support you. So to do that, we're going to give you a device. But if your main priority is that you're worried that you're going to be made homeless or that you're unemployed, you're not going to want to use that device to manage your diabetes. Your head is full of the other things that you're worrying about. So what we're trying to do with the digital inclusion piece, it's pan public sector, say, where is that person coming into contact with somebody, a safe space for them? How do we then support them to work through the kind of problems that they've got in the order that they want them help with? And digital kind of weaves into that. So it might be that digital is supporting them to apply for a job or look at how to get housing online. And so by nature, you're starting to include them digitally, but that's not where you've led from. You've led from what they need and what they need support on. And things like the Good Thing Foundation have shown that if you, for every £1 you spend, you get, I think it's like £6.24 return on investment, because if you approach it in that wide way, the economy, everything benefits, because you're helping people get back to work, get housing, be happy and healthier, connect, not be so lonely. So it starts to hit all of the things that we know make people really unhappy, unwell, and kind of lose their kind of feeling like they're contributing to society and stuff. So that's the way we're kind of trying to look at it.
Yeah, it's a great sort of bird's eye view, I think, of looking at it as well from more of a holistic perspective. And hopefully you'll obviously get more, the patients will get more out of it from doing it that way. I think so anyway.
Or stop them getting sick in the first place, ideally. Get them, yeah, connected and happy and not lonely, and into places where they're so happy that we can try and support them to stay well as long as possible.
Amazing. What a good, yeah, such good innovations you've got going on.
I mean, I should definitely caveat we are the least digitally mature health system currently, but I think that gives us a lot of opportunity at the same time to kind of do things well from the start. So yeah, it's really interesting time for us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much,
You are most
Sarah.
welcome. It's always lovely to
Oh, thanks. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching.